Millions spent, nothing to show. Is this the most expensive failure in the history of the LCK? Of course, this week's topic for Let's Cover Korea, where we talk about the LCK, is Hanwha Life Esports becoming the first team knocked out in LCK Cup for first stand contention and the second team in the world knocked out for first stand contention. Dagon here alongside Wolf. And Wolf, this past week, Hanwha Life Esports had put themselves in a hole, but they had not been buried yet. They only needed to win one game in a best of 5 against GenG in 34 minutes and 43 seconds, or win 2 games, or win the series. And this star-studded roster full of world champions, international champions, Asian game champions could not muster a single win, and now find themselves one of the biggest embarrassments in the history of the LCK. Yes or no?
I mean, this is definitely one of the biggest disappointments. Embarrassment, I would say, is definitely quite high. It should be. And had their group won, in part due to them, they would have been fine even if they were in last place at the end. And Bro only won 2 games, gets to go play in play-ins, and they don't. But this was completely in Hanwha's control. Like, if they had beaten GenG 3-0, even on the final day at the Dire Straits, they would have actually gotten first place in the group. Because GenG and T1 beat everyone. Every team had 2 losses by default. And so I can't really fault Hanwha for that. Although if you want to really be considered a top team in the LCK, you should be able to, at least play close games against T1 and GenG. Against GenG in a best of 5, they didn't take a single game. And they lost to Nongshim. And they lost a game to Bro. And that's really what this is actually about. It's not about the GenG loss, because GenG didn't drop a game to anybody. All right? So yes, the loss yesterday felt the most painful because it was the bookend on a really terrible season for Hanwha Life Esports, where they were just not able to showcase really any of like a fraction of the power that this roster and this super team, frankly, should be able to show. And so it just ended up being this team drops out, bombs out. We kept giving excuses the whole time. Oh, surely they'll get it together. They'll get it together. The coordination will be there later. They'll put Kanavi on a leash. They'll play a little bit more passively. They'll eventually figure out how to actually play through Gumayushi's playstyle a little bit. And ultimately, guess what? They didn't. And it seemed like they slowly got worse over time instead of getting better. And Delight it really was the main person who struggled, I think, throughout a lot of these games, who was trying to be a playmaker, maybe often too much, trying to follow Kanavi a little bit too much, and then ended up looking silly, especially on his Alistair in the games yesterday at the time of recording. I think Hanwha Life fans should be disappointed. I think Hanwha Life fans should have serious questions about how this roster moves forward now, because we can talk about the fact that Peanut made such a huge impact on this team all we want, and how it's going to take some growing pains to get used to now that it's Kanavi in charge in terms of the jungle, right? Like, we can talk about that. But Peanut's not coming back, okay? He's not coming back. You're not getting Viper back. Viper's 1v9 late game perfect carry no matter what happens, like no matter how disastrous the mid game is. He's not coming back. So how do you fix this is the real question I think Hanwha fans should have moving in to LCK, where we start in April.
I don't think there is a clear answer, but the reason why I'm so hard on it is because this is a super team. Do we remember how much blame was being put on to Peanut, like at the later stages of the LCK regular season? So much of it. It was like the team's being held back because Peanut and Peanut hands. And every now and then he would have a great controlling game against a weaker jungler, but against Owner and against Canyon, he wasn't getting it done. And at times against Cuz, he wasn't getting it done and was getting bailed out by generally Viper or a carry performance by Zeus. And now that you get the change, you get the guy that you want in Kanavi when alternatives were there. We had discussed before on this show. It could have been Sponge. It could have been Raptor. It could have been someone else. You get Kanavi, and it just doesn't look functioning. It doesn't look functioning past the laning phase, which has its own chemistry oopsies. But once they're past the laning phase, they don't know when to go in, when to go out together. Their macro isn't clean. And when you are playing against those top teams, the last 2 days, actually, Wolf, were so enjoyable to watch if you were keeping a closer eye on what T1 was doing or what GenG were doing, because they were playing the map masterfully and winning the fights later on. Despite getting set back, like the Rise game in game 2 against D plus Kia for T1, the Yone game, I think that was game 2 for GenG, or maybe it was game 1, but regardless, it was game 1. And Chovy was missing some CS. He was behind. He lost a fight early because Canyon took a bad fight, and they still found a way to get back into the game, partially because Hanwha put them in, gave them an opportunity, but also because GenG macroed in a way that forced them to be in that bad position. And it just doesn't feel like that team that should have someone stepping up and have that leadership, and someone kind of like architecting, creating the infrastructure to do that, was capable of doing that. And then they just fall behind. And it's just now looking like another super team in a whole line of super teams that have failed. You go back to 2015 or 2017, like KT. If you're an LCS fan, it was the Immortals roster or the Team Liquid roster. You had the Vitality roster that did this a couple years ago, like almost 4 or 5 years ago now, for LEC. And it's just super teams always lack that chemistry, and it feels like Hanwha Life Esports now maybe made that same mistake so early on in this season, but they are the first team out. It's not that they lost in the finals or they lost in semifinals or they lost in playoffs. Well, they're the first team out in the LCK. They are one of the first teams out in the world. This is catastrophic. Name a team from Brazil. They're out before them. Name a team in LCP. They're out before them. You know, this guy that does the thumbs up, Evie, he's still in. It's crazy. It's crazy to me.
So Hanwha's Challengers team, by the way, is bottom of their group as well. They're 1-4 in terms of series. They're 2-9, so -7. They're group 1, so they're actually playing in play-ins. They'll be playing this week against D plus their Challengers team. The only team worse than them, which is basically the bros of Challengers, is the GenG Global Academy squad, which if you watched KeSPA Cup, you got to see my boy Lloyd try to play the game. Yeah, that's they're the worst team in Challengers, but Hanwha's the second worst team in Challengers, according to the standings. I haven't watched many of the games, to be honest, this season. I've been very busy. So I couldn't tell you if, like, in the eye test, they're actually way better than that 1-4 scoreline shows, but they have players such as Jackal, the jungler that nobody's ever heard of.
Okay, I was like, am I supposed to know him? I don't know.
No. Okay. Nobody really knows who this guy is. He's been playing since 2023 in the academy system and got promoted to a sub last year and is now the starter for Hanwha Life Challengers. So I don't think he's taking Kanavi's spot. And then there's Bluffing, the support player, who's 17. So it's his debut year for CL. He is also from the academy system and joined. Actually, I misspeak on that. He actually joined the Challengers roster last year. January 2025. He is again very young and could potentially be a growth prospect for the future if the results start to get better than what they are right now. But you can't replace either of these players who seem to be having a bit of a problem. And like the mid laners aren't strong either. Cracker and Valiant. Like Cracker has been around for a little while, hasn't really been able to impress anybody thus far. Like, I think he's obviously talented in his own right and deserves a spot on the Challengers roster, but isn't going to replace Zeka. So there isn't any talent that they can get because it's just not available, right? And like when you look at this roster, you're like, okay, so we have to fix the communication issues. You can't even take, because this roster is so expensive, by the way, like this happens in LCK all the time. We have these insanely expensive rosters, and then people are like asking for Challengers players to come up. Like, remember when Kana was the top laner for D+, and everyone's like, where's Thanatos? I can't believe they won't replace Kana. Like, well, they spent a lot of money on him. He has a brand. He's an T1 player. You think they're going to be like, you think they can explain that to ownership? Like, we think this relatively inexperienced person who might be worse, we don't even know, we think he should share time with Kana now and take Kana out. It's like the Smash Guma thing, right? That we already saw. First of all, there's insane fan backlash for that kind of thing. The higher profile up you go. Like can you imagine if Guma gets replaced on this roster again? That's not going to happen. But like, imagine if they tried to play Pyongyik in the bottom lane. So, the situation that they find themselves in now is that they have to figure out how to shot call and stuff. And super teams often have this issue where you have a bunch of like hands talent, right? Great at lane, great hands checking. Kanavi's like, I'm going to flip the game at 7 minutes every game. I'm going to take some random skirmish around a dragon or around a scuttle crab, around a a top lane 2v2 or a bottom lane 3v3, and I just have the hands so I win it every time kind of situation. That's like often what has given Hanwha some of their early leads. I just picked 7 minutes as like a random thing. Like on average, it feels like it's somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes where Kanavi just decides he's either gonna lose the game for his team instantly or try to get them a lead they'll throw away later. And that's kind of the thing is when you get up to level of T1 and GenG, like T1 is a team that has calm as fuck communication, and like they released the comms for the T1 KT game, the comeback game, and you can watch it if you go look on the LCK channel and like watch back some of the content around that. How incredibly calm Faker is. He looks like the entire time he's like, this game is like winnable, by the way. Like there is like no way we lose this game. Like 13,000 gold behind, they're hiding in their base, they're calling out like pace doesn't have flash, let's play careful around that, stuff like that. They are just so confident from start to finish that like this is winnable. We know exactly how we need to play this. I know exactly the angle we need to take, kind of thing. It's super high level. And that's, I think, in my mind, the best in League of Legends, bar none. Like no one comes close to T1. GenG, I think, doesn't even come close in that regard. GenG has other strengths, right? Their laning is often much better, right? Like Ruler's performances have been absolutely bonkers. GenG might be stronger than T1. We're going to find out soon. But my point is that comes with a lot of experience and comes with players who have been in positions to where that experience comes to them through where their backgrounds are. For example, Doran was always a guy who, like, on GenG was the guy who was told what to do. He slotted really well into T1 for that reason, because that's what they do. They tell him what to do, and he follows their orders for the most part. And you can see games where Doran, like, kind of does his own thing in a side lane and looks like an idiot sometimes, and you can tell he's not really listening to where the team was focusing on talking about something else. Like, Doran's not known for his decision making, right? But he's a talented mechanical player who will make the right calls in a team fight. And in terms of macro, he'll do what Faker says, right? What is on Hanwha Life Esports going to be the way that they can make these decisive calls? Like, I think that's why Guma was so perfect for T1, is because he's a safe player who's probably not going to fuck it up. He's not going to fuck it up for you. He's not going to get caught. Like, sometimes Ruler gets caught in the Ruler spot. Like, Guma doesn't have one of those. Sometimes Paze gets caught, right? Like, Paze is known to sometimes overextend when he's farming in mid lane and get caught. Guma's super safe, generally speaking, and he kind of just goes where the team asks him to go. Like, he follows the rotations. But if he has to be the one who's super veteran, who is the world's finals MVP, and start making calls and communicating as the AD carry, that's not his thing, right? And like Delight needs to be communicating more, but I think he also kind of worked in tandem with Peanut. Maybe he's not finding that synergy with Kanavi just yet. And we know that Zeka generally is pretty quiet. Like, we've seen this time and time again. Zeus, same thing. Like, both the solo laners on this team, pretty quiet. You have an AD carry who's the safe AD carry, is the stable one. And then you have Delight and Kanavi who aren't working together well. And so it just ends up being a disaster outside of the early game. Like, Kanavi will make a decision seemingly on his own. By the way, how many times have I watched Kanavi and Delight walking two different directions, and then Delight has to like turn around and follow him in a 3v3 in the river. And like, when they get those leads, they don't know how to, because if you fuck that up, at 8 minutes into the game, it's like, oh, well, our bottom lane took a bit of a hit here, or now a little bit behind in jungle, we lost a little bit of vision, or maybe we lost our blue buff. You make a decision like that in the later part of the game, 25 minutes plus, you might just straight up lose the game, because the consequences of that, macro-wise, objective-wise, map control-wise, are game losing. Like we saw in the series against GenG, where they took that really bad Baron fight, and it's just, that's it. That's the game. Delight panic, engages on Rel, doesn't get what he needs to get there, doesn't actually get the engage on the AD carry, the rest of the team can't follow. And it's like, okay, well, that's the game, And if your whole thing is just trying to desperately engage and there's no plan and everyone feels like they're freestyling, the bar, like I feel like the floor, let's say, is probably like at worst sixth place in the LCK. Like you, because their mechanics are good enough, they're a strong enough roster because they are that super team. I don't think this team is like not going to make playoffs when it comes to LCK. They're going to make road to MSI for sure, but are they going to be a legend team? I'm not sure about that just yet because the other teams have, like, even Nongshim has a game plan. You know what I mean? Like Lehens is calling things out. They're communicating really well. Sponge is an incredible jungler already. Like you already lost to Nongshim, but Nongshim might be one of those teams that blocks you from getting into the legend group.
B&K
for real. Like I think we should be worried. Yeah, B&K, D plus. I think Hanwha fans should start to worry about the lack of turnaround we've seen. We've had enough time here, and now they're going to be inactive. Like they'll probably do some scrims for the teams that are getting ready for first stand and stuff like that. Probably be scrimming the teams and play-ins and whatnot. But will they atrophy during this time, or how will they improve before LCK starts? But I think you should really worry this team will not be a legend group team if things do not change.
I think you hammered it home of like there is no shot caller. Like, you know, you got the roles filled. You filled in at AD carry, you filled in at jungler, but there is no shot caller, and that in itself is its own skill set. Because when you look at Kanavi, like look at the mids that he's gotten to play with. He played with Knight and Ruler on JDG. And then he played with Yagao, right? And then before that, who was he playing with? Right? Like he was playing with fucking Chovy for a little bit, at least, over at Griffin. So like he's had people tell him, like Asian Games, who was shot calling? Faker. He's had a lot of guys. Or Chovy, yeah.
I mean, well, Faker didn't play that much in Asian Games. That I think he played like one game, right, or two games, so he could get the status, and then he wasn't the strongest mid laner, and he took a step aside. At least that's what I remember. It's been a while now, but ultimately, like I'm sure Faker had a lot of input in game plans, even on the bench. Like he probably actually told them a lot, gave them a lot of information about what he thinks the team should play around and how they should stylize.
Yeah.
But like,
and so Asia
Games is easy. This is LCK. Like Asia Games is easy compared to LCK. Like LCK is hard. It's competitive. Yeah. Asia Games. Sorry, you choked up. Asia Games is is not you're making millions of dollars. You're not like actually invested in Asia Games. If you're a fan, you're invested in them getting the gold medal and getting military exemption. But Hanwha Life, the company, has got to be like looking, going, well, damn, we spent how much? You guys are 10th place, and like some GM is gonna be like, sir, well, technically, like our group lost, and if we were in the other group, we would have actually been fine, but we got higher seeded because we were the defending champions, so we actually were on the other side, and then GenG got first pick, so they got T1, so we couldn't get T1, and actually, like it's a little bit more complicated than you think, sir, because actually, I don't think certain sir gives a shit, but like he's gonna be like, we got 10th place. Our challengers team is like the second worst team. What are we doing?
I'm not gonna lie.
This much money.
I'm not gonna lie, Wolf. As you were creating that scenario, I just got goosebumps and a little bit of PTSD with my time at Golden Guardians, because we were last place on Golden Guardians, and then also our academy team was like last place or second to last place, and that was at the same time that the Golden State Warriors were doing their fucking run against LeBron and winning championships there. And it's like, we've got championship culture here. What the fuck do we have here? And, there was a little bit more grace for us because we were new. They're like, okay, growing pains. But that feeling of having that conversation and using the yes, Mr. Lakeup, and yes, in this case, it'd be yes, Mr. Hanwha. Like, it's stressful and you just don't have an answer for it. It's just no good answer for it. You have answers, but you have no good answer for it.
They've got like issues with their baseball team right now as well, where like they have these domestic players who replace their import pitchers, and like they are spending a lot of money, and like they had a pretty big resurgence last year, but they lost their pitchers, right? So like it's funny for Hanwha Life Esports and for Hanwha Life Sports in general, and Hanwha the company. They have been a team, or they have been in the past, an organization, company, whatever, a chaebol that is trying to moneyball and spend like the least amount of money to get the highest results, and then have kind of swapped over in more recent times to kind of just drop in the bag
Yeah,
and it
they're
worked
like, let's
out.
win.
It worked out for a while. But I mean, remember, I mentioned this from time to time. This was the team whose GM was crying foul and asking for salary caps back when they had the Karas roster. But this is their worst result since then. And I know this
The
isn't the
Karis
LCK.
roster.
Yeah. This is not the LCK. This is LCK Cup. We'll see what happens with their LCK results. And these two things are not the same, obviously, because this tournament has a funny format. It's for funsies, and like it does things a little bit differently. And like, were they the 10th? Were like 10th team in results? Yes, but were the 10th place team in terms of their skill level and power level? We know that's obviously not true.
No.
But this team went to post 2022 Worlds where they had a horrible roster that did very badly, and they were like, we're gonna buy the DRX pieces, and that's like kind of how it started. The Hanwha new formed Hanwha, where they actually got these super teams, and this year they lost Peanut, right? But they picked up Guma because Viper was like, I've had enough of Viper Life Esports. I want a real team. I want to go accomplish something. I want to do something else. He left, got the bag, and is trying to accomplish something in the LPL right now. And they got Guma, I think, because they needed a top tier 80 carry to replace Viper, and they also knew Guma is the 80 carry in terms of star power right now. He is the like face of like 80 carry right now, like in terms of popularity. Whether you hate him or love him doesn't matter. It's the clicks, it's the views. Like that's the guy you want to have in your content, right? But I think how he works with this team is very different than how Viper works, and how like Pays works for T1, and even like Diablo works for BNK, and that he's not the 80 carry who can fix your like passivity. You're like Ruler, he might be able to do that. Ruler is a little bit more well-rounded in terms of style, in my opinion, than Guma. Guma's the safe guy. Like, he is really, really good, but if the team isn't making decisions, then his playstyle doesn't actually empower this team. I don't think anything that happened in that GenG series was about Guma playing poorly, by the way, despite I think a lot of Guma haters trying to take any opportunity to shit on him, even if because he went 0-3 like that. But even though it wasn't about him, by the way. So,
just on that point, there's I will call out the as like someone who watches the 80 carry roll a lot, because I love learning from the guys. There was one moment where I thought it was his fault, and it was in the Misfortune game, which was already insanely hard to play. He went top. He didn't have flash to go like touch a wave, and then Bard portals in. They tempered fate him, and then he dies, and then I think him and Delight both die. Like, that was like the one thing. It was like, hey, you can't touch that wave because they have Bard on the other team, and you don't have flash. Like, you can't do that. That was the only one. Every other one made sense, or at least I understood. There was one more time where I think he had to blow flash because he touched a wave in mid lane, but he was like right in front of his tower, and I was like, oh, that's so unlucky. That's so unlucky. But that one was like the only one
in that draft. It's so hard.
And they like set him up. Like, they set him up. I cannot, like, we get called all these different Guma lover, Goomer hater. In this case, it's not Guma's fault. This was a very difficult game to play if you're Guma. It felt like he wasn't put in positions to carry, and it felt very reminiscent of what happened to him in times with T1, where it was like, hey, you're not protecting your AD carry. You're not giving him avenues to get in to dish out the damage, like in game 3 on the Sivir. So what are you supposed to do if the rest of your team doesn't carry, because you're not protecting your AD carry who carries? Because T1 was able to do that. Faker would be able to carry. Dorn was able to make surprise plays. Owner was able to come out. Here, Kanavi goes in and dies. Like, it's frustrating to watch.
He was extremely held back by Delight in this series. I think we can really feel that. Delight's Alistair game in particular was real rough, but the other two games weren't great either. The Rel, where he tried to be desperately, ulting things and like ulted air, as Atlas put it, it just didn't feel like the team had any idea how to work together. And when you watch the deficits that GenG were in, they kept losing the early game because Canyon was like, I'm just going to go do something a little bit risky. And then Kanavi's like, I check you on that every time, by the way. And like I literally told Atlas before the broadcast, I said on the broadcast that we had this conversation. I was like, there's gonna be some funny business where Canyon just dies randomly to Kanavi because he doesn't respect him. And like
Yeah.
that happened. It happened twice. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
see, I knew this was gonna happen. We all know it's gonna happen. And then we both agreed also that it wouldn't matter and GenG would win anyways. Like that's just kind of how it went because GenG has a plan. GenG's like, we're behind. I know, split up this team fight. And sometimes it's spoken and communicated, right? Like sometimes the GenG players will actually calm this, like, all right, let's try to push on the AD carry, then turn back and focus down Zeka. And like, we zone Guma away, then we can actually collapse on the Orion that's on the other side. So she can't actually assist. And we'll just keep this team fight like cut in half. Sometimes there'll be like a little bit of comms on that, but it will be more simple, like, okay, go for AD carry, all right, switch sides. But a lot of the time it's just innate in these players. Like they know
Yep.
what to do. They know how their comp works. They've played so many different types of comps. Their unspoken synergy is there. And it just is not there for Hanwha. And after watching D Plus have this problem for like 3 years, and with really different coaching staffs that are really respected coaching staffs across the years, and a lot of turnover there. And now, CV Max at the helm. We'll see what happens. But I almost start to believe that this sort of synergy can't be taught, can't be learned. It just your team is going to have it, or they're not going to have it. Like one of our casting like talking points always is, it's still early days. We'll see. Faker can turn any young player into a god by telling him what to do, right? Like we've already seen that over every generation of League of Legends,
A decade.
right? Like maybe T1 is the only example of like, okay, they had issues, they fixed them, because that has been pretty consistent. T1 has issues, they fix them. That has always happened. But I start to wonder if it's a myth that like teams will build synergy, or maybe especially with these older players who are very experienced and have been around the block. It's not their first rodeo. Maybe they're just too set in their ways to adapt. Like Kanavi's like, I already won a bunch of stuff playing exactly how I play right now. Who are you to tell me that I need to play a little bit more safe? Maybe you need to play a little bit more aggressive. Maybe they don't actively fight or talk to each other like this, but maybe it's in the back of Kanavi's mind, like, Delight's just not playing the way I need him to play. And Delight's saying, Kanavi's going in too much. Like, this is the wrong time. I don't know what to do. I'm either going to just int with him, or I'm playing too passive. And then that gets into the back of his mind. And then they don't trust each other. And then they don't make fast calls, or they make a call too fast. That doesn't make sense because the coach was like, you guys are too slow with these calls. You need to be faster on the engage. And it's always just like this cycle.
Maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe they need to have that conversation. Maybe, like, generally when you hear stories about teams that fail and don't achieve their actual potential by a large margin, not like, damn, they were better this day. It's like Hanwha shouldn't be 10th. You have to have those conversations and create that conflict, because a lot of players are conflict averse, like just in general. They are conflict averse. They go with the flow, or they'll say what they think, but then that they don't have the conflict, even though it's different opinions. They don't have the conflict to resolve, or they go down the steps of trying to resolve it, and then
I will tell you
they
too,
like stop at some point.
Especially in Korea.
Thank you.
Do these conflicts not really get resolved? Like, because it's innately the culture of hierarchy. Sometimes based on age, sometimes based on experience, and then also the coach who has the final say. You have to go to him to talk about this stuff if you want to bring it up, and then if you go to the coach and say, let's say you're Delight and you're like, I'm fed up with Kanavi, how he's playing some of these engages, how he's going in when we're clearly leaving. Like, you got to talk to him about this. I don't want to handle this, because it's most appropriate to go to the coach instead of going to the Kanavi, right? Go to authority. Authority trickles down, but you lose so much, like of what we call chung in Korea, if you go to the coach and complain. Because then the coach, like from Delight's perspective, he's like, well, now I'm a whiner. I had to go to the coach and be like, hey, can you? So like, it's in Delight's best interest for his ability to have any say on the team to actually just kind of suck it up and try to figure it out on his own. So this can create like kind of a cycle of like, okay, I'm trying to deal with this. I'm trying to figure this out on my own. I'm getting more frustrated. I'm getting all this like, stuff that's kind of innately pent up inside of me that I'm frustrated about within this team. And in the West, when that happens, sometimes there's a big explosion in the team house, people are yelling at each other, there's like suddenly like a suspension, or you hear about this on somebody's stream or something. Kind of in the LPL too, like Doinby, you hear Doinby say like, oh, there was this crazy drama on such and such team, like you guys don't know about this, but such and such player like yelled at the guy or got suspended, or there was a whatever going on with that. Much less common in Korea to have those types of moments, but
Yep.
it also just means that, like you said, it's not healthy to never talk about it or work on it either, because you don't actually then get to solve the issue. I'm not saying that's like, we don't know. This is all speculation. We don't know what's going on.
We don't know.
I want to be clear about that. Like, we do not know, but there's been a lot of patterns of this, especially over the last few years in the LCK.
And that's what the time now is for, because they are out. They are out. They will not play another game of League of Legends for 2 months. Like, it's February, y'all. It's February. This is first stand champions. This is LCK Cup champions. This was 2024 LCK champions, or 2020. Yeah, 2024 LCK champions. Oh my gosh.
Summer. It was summer. Yeah. But yeah. Glad we used to
and
have
it's just like, like, this is the time to talk about that and contextualize it. So, however we can. So for all of you at home, the question is this the biggest failure in LCK history, and why? Why do you think that is? And then finally, can they fix it? Do you think this team will be able to fix it? Because as much as I've listed all those other super teams, LGD, Team Liquid, Immortals, Vitality, Hanwha Life Esports when he was on Hanwha Life, it's happening so early.
I don't know if that was a super team, the Chovy Hanwha Life, but that was kind of Chovy, like, that was a Chovy team where he tried to carry them.
KT 2017. There you go.
There have been a lot of super teams that have worked. They are the two teams that are undefeated in the LCK Cup right now, and the two teams that have inevitably met in almost every finals since 2021, since the fall of Damwon, right? The fall of D+ Kia. The super teams that T1 keeps together or then augments when they lose pieces of them, and then GenG's Giga Super team that they built. Because GenG before was like, okay, they're a pretty strong team, right? They keep going to finals, but it wasn't like they didn't have Canyon yet. You know what I mean? Like that was, they didn't have Keen yet. Like they became the superest super team eventually. Those teams are working, but like not every super team works is the real bottom line here. And this one was an expensive one. Not as expensive as GenG or T1, but probably third place, right? Probably third place. And they did not go undefeated like GenG and T1 did they?
No, they did not. So let us know if they'll be able to get it together and what you think the problem is. And if I'm being too hard on them, but I think just with that Team Liquid hope that I saw, like, that got sapped out of me when they're like, all right, we're going to put Bjergsen in here. We'll get Bwipo as well. Santorin, he's the glue guy. He's going to be our glue guy. Hans Sama is here. World champ Core JJ. I bought into the hype and I got burned. And so maybe I'm just a little sensitive to this. So we'll see. One other excuse that kind of came out of a lot of fans and players alike, Faker himself had a clip posted on Reddit about this, was that the LCK Cup format is so wonky that there was a world where T1 could theoretically go undefeated and still have to play in play-ins. Obviously, that did not happen thanks to the Noodle Boys eking it out against KT, which then led to, how stupid is the format that Hanwha Life Esports is out? Which, now that we're done on the group's battles here, Wolf, I think that was one of the most exciting, like, meta game finishes that format has created that I've been a part of in League of Legends. We had this time 34-43 over every single game between two of our best teams in the best organizations in the LCK, a team full of world champions, games full of world, world's winners and LCK winners, and just a game full of winners. And you're like, this immovable object, GenG, just has to be moved by 34-43 by these guys that are capable of moving mountains. And so that game 2 where they're ahead, they have control of the game. They're going towards Baron at 31 minutes. And you and Atlas were on the call right then and there. That was very, very exciting. It was very reminiscent of how I felt in last year's LCK Cup when also a format snafu happened where Hanwha Life and T1 play against each other in a best of 5 single elimination because they both they both lost the group, which sucked, obviously, you know, that we lost one of the squads. However, it was like this extra feeling in the room. Like it was a little goosebumpy when you're calling it, and now it's like this extra thing to juggle, and you're kind of wondering, is it on the guys' minds that there is a timer here that they got to win in a certain time and then they can relieve all the stress? Like it was, is it on the guys' minds that this is the first time that Zeus is facing ZOFGK without the Z? Like that was all super, super fun. It was super fun as a fan. I'm sure it was very, very stressful as a fan of one of those two teams.
You know, the moment when that Baron happened, the light ulted air, right? Like when I was commenting that, I set it up because I was like, look, they have control. They should be able to secure this Baron. They've got great turn off Baron. If they can win the team fight on Baron with Baron buff, I think they can end the game in time. Like they actually had all the tools, and it felt very winnable. It felt like how we didn't have to beat GenG. They didn't have to beat the undefeated team who hasn't dropped a single game. All they had to do was win one game in a certain condition in order to get themselves into play-ins. That's all they had to do. They couldn't do it. But it's not about that. It's about the loss to Bro, the single loss to Bro, loss to Nongshim.
Yep.
And so let's be honest. Like I think we can be totally honest here. Is this a good format? In terms of most legitimate, there's no. Okay. So I'm gonna qualify. Is this a good format in terms of best quality matches, fairest matches, fairness for all 10 teams? No, it's not.
No,
if you thought it was designed for that, by the way, I don't know what you're doing. Like we have the LCK for that over there.
Yeah.
Now, if you want another mini LCK tournament, then you should make your voices heard, and then like we can make LCK Winter, and we can do our own like little mini tournament, like where it's actually a tournament format with like GSL groups. Maybe we can invite 2 teams. Actually, damn, this sounds pretty sick. Like, why don't we just invite like an LPL team, maybe 2 LPL teams, 12 teams, 3 GSL style groups. Hold on, this sounds pretty sick. Wait, what if we invited 6 teams? We had 16 teams, 4 GSL style groups. Well, let me cook. Like, but in all seriousness, like this tournament was designed. Everybody knows why this tournament and LEC versus et cetera exist. It's because Riot wanted to move to a 3-season format, right? So because they're doing different promotions during the year that they want to promote with the esports tournament. That's how esports works right now. Publisher controlled esports. Believe it or not, the LCK is an ad. As sick as it is as a sports league. And they added an international tournament, so there needs to be some sort of tournament that you can use to feed into and qualify for first stand. And this is also the time of the year where massive sweeping new changes come into the game, like the removal of Otacon, role quests, etc. All the changes to 80 carry crit damage, the tier 3 boots the mids get, top laners go level 20. They brought Gunblade back. So it's also kind of this test tournament where the stakes aren't as high. They don't affect your ability to go to MSI or Worlds. They don't affect your regular season performances or results. But we get to test all this crazy broken OP shit. And last year we even tested Fearless, right? And this year, right of first selection comes in. Coach Comms is a thing in our region as well. We talked a lot about that last week, so I'm not going into it any further. But it's over now. That was the last Coach Comm series that was available at Hanwha versus GenG. But anyway, this is for all of that for funsies, right? Like that's like the LCK Cup doesn't even have a logo, which kills me. Like how? Come on, like what? Just please make a logo. God, the content has a logo.
Get in there.
The content has a logo. The content, the LCK Cup, like quiz that has like an LCK Cup logo on it for the quiz. Where's my LCK Cup logo? Kespa Cup has one. What if Kespa Cup just put like an LCK logo on? Like, yo, can we use your LCK logo because it's like basically the same thing? No. Anyway,
tell them. All right. Wolf hates
like,
the fact that there is no LCK Cup logo. He
I just
complains
think it's
about it
incredibly lazy.
every
It's
week.
incredibly lazy. It's
All
incredibly
right.
lazy. Like, I didn't even have graphics for Rise Group and Legend Group either. Like, I love the LCK, I love our production, but whoever responsible for that, like, come on, get on it. Like, just make some
If
small graphics, okay? Like,
if you
it's
haven't
not hard.
commented already or commented ever before and empathize with this, please. Wolf needs the support here because he talks about it every day.
It's just I'm over it. Anyway, obviously this tournament is for funsies, okay? It is for testing out these new rosters, getting experience, getting us to set the narrative for what the LCK is going to look like. That's what this tournament is to me. I think that's what this tournament is to almost anyone who's a big, true fan of the LCK. But if you're a fan of only Hanwha Life Esports and not the greater LCK and the greater LCK ecosystem, which a lot of you are, which is fine, that's healthy and normal to be a fan of one team and really love them, or even one player, for example, who just moved to Hanwha. Now you're a new Hanwha fan because you came with Guma. That's also great. Like, the Hanwha fans are happy to have you, welcome to the team. But blaming the format for this scenario, there is some truth to it in that it's not the most legitimate test. Like, but I think you can also just say, you know what? These two things can be true. Hanwha Life Esports got 10th place at LCK Cup, but also Hanwha Life Esports are not the 10th best team in LCK. Believe it or not, those two could both be true, okay? And so I think that's how you kind of have to hold on to yourself if you're a Hanwha fan. If you're blaming the format, you could do that, but you're just yelling at clouds because they're not going to be like, oh yeah, I heard all the fans are mad. Let's bring them back. Let's give them a chance let's let them play in play-ins. They're out, and you'll see them in LCK. You really should be more worried about Hanwha Life Esports as a unit for the problems we talked about the first part of this video more than you should be complaining about the format.
Yes, because this gets brought up, Wolf. I wanted to stick this in here because I saw people being like, wow, even LCS is a better format than LCK. And that triggered me because, one,
I don't even know the LCS format. Like the season 1 format.
They're lock-in, right?
The
lock-in format, right? Which is good. It is good. I like it. They play the best of 3 Swiss. It's best of 3 Swiss, 3 rounds or however many rounds. So they're doing Swiss, which is cool. And then what do? They do single round robin best of 3. We have the LCK, the model, the double round robin, but now it's going to be double round robin for the first 2 rounds into the split groups. We're getting teams playing the best teams later on when it starts to matter. We give an opportunity for redemption for the teams that get sent down to the Rise group and could potentially move on up, which didn't quite happen last year either. We have the format already. So this is, by all intents and purposes, what you said, an opportunity to test new things, while still having a competitive-ish format, right? It's not a for fun, let's just blind pick. It's not that. Like, did Hanwha Life
teams get to choose, right? Like,
against Nongshim? They did. Did they just straight up lose against Nongshim? They did. Like, that's on them. Did they lose a game to the pros? They did. Nothing about format changed that game.
Yeah.
Nothing. Maybe coach voice.
All it's about. I saw this comment on Reddit, and I think it's also like a sobering comment, and it's I think what we all know, and no one's really saying out loud. If they were in Bro's position with these same results and this same play, they ain't going anywhere in the bracket, by the way. Like, they might just lose to Nongshim again. So I just like, so what, you really upset they didn't make the bracket where they would also lose? It's true, right? Like, this team is, unless they suddenly turned it around between now and Wednesday, probably not really going to be in a position to go deep. Like, could they beat DRX? Like, well, maybe. But anyway, my point here is that the format is not for hardcore. If you want that, you should make that known. Because I find it really convenient that no one complains about the format until their favorite team is out. I find that to be like a kind of interesting trend. Interesting GenG and T1 fans aren't complaining about the format. The T1 fans complained about it last year, when they lost to Hanwha. But right now, when they're 5-0 in their group, they seem pretty quiet about the format. I think factually the format could be improved. It was iterated on this year, and it will be iterated on and improved. You have to imagine for next year. I think one of the most unlucky things about this format was that Hanwha Life, we know now, was not a top team, but because they were defending champions, they got to be the top of their group and choose a team, and then GenG got to pick T1, so that it made the groups a little bit like top heavy lopsided. Like people were saying, well, Group Elders overall better, but GenG and T1 are on the other side, so that's kind of the questions we have. But that Nongshim upset win was the one that like turned the tides and made it seem like, oh, maybe actually the Group Baron is overall better because Hanwha's bad, and we're not sure. But I think that if it was GenG and T1 split, then things would be a little bit more interesting this year, because it turns out that like the third best team, based on how the format was decided to pick it out, was the second best team to GenG, right? So end up GenG and T1 on the same side. GenG's obviously going to pick T1. They can't pick Hanwha. They wouldn't have picked Hanwha necessarily, but they can't pick Hanwha because Hanwha was in the other group by default. So I think that was really unlucky that the groups were split that way, and Hanwha just turned out to be pretty bad. So that's like something that no one could have necessarily accounted for, and I think it's not fair to just tell Hanwha, oh, you're not going to get it this year because I heard your scrims are bad, and like we're going to give it to T1 because they're better than you and they won Kespa Cup.
Against Hanwha. So what else? The eye test was saying in terms of the most recent competitive matches that it was Hanwha was definitely at least up there. Were we going to say, oh, it's T1 Hanwha, and we're not going to have GenG there? Like we're like that's not it either. So, and you brought up on Puck State, like having a committee. And I was like, well, I think that's a good idea. Like kind of like the college football playoffs committee. And, we'll take some heat. Now that I think about it, Wolf, I just don't think with the people that we would have on this committee, anyone would ever overturn that with the evidence that was there at the time. Like no one would have been like that.
That's the only way you could try to do it, though, and say, like, we're not going to just give it to the defending champion and finalist. Right? Correct. Like, is to have a committee, and then, like, you have to have a committee, and these people aren't going to be paid, and, like, they might have their own bias. Like, but that's the only way. Like, it's just not feasible. So the groups had to be split this way. But as it turns out, the defending champions a year ago are not the two best teams right now. But correct. Anyway, that's one of the things that caused a lot of issues in this format. I'm looking forward to play-ins. I'm looking forward to playoffs. I'm looking forward to some more best of fives. I'm looking forward to some more trash drafts from our bottom teams that don't know how to draft and fearless. Like, give it to me. I'm looking. DRX, bro. Ooh, I'm casting that. I'm ready.
I'm sorry. Also, just to throw it out there, like these matches are all best of threes, by the way. Like the play-ins are all best of threes. Like they're like, hey, we know that Bro DRX and KT DNS are not the peakest of peak League of Legends, so we'll only make you watch it for 3 matches, probably 2, given the fact that one of these teams is just not going to fucking show up. And then Nongshim and DK, well, at least DK will take care of I have Bro X in 2 games, so that won't be too long either. And same thing with Nongshim, right? Like those are best of 3. I like the format. I'm going to say, I'm saying it with my chest. I like the format, man. Like, it's fun. And if the teams and players want to complain about, like, no, fucking 4th place team is shit in the bed, then help them. Help them. Do you know how much it would mean to, I don't know, if I'm fucking Scout, to have Faker be like, hey, man, I believe in you. Maybe try this. Damn, that doesn't even give me anything except the fact that I was touched by the hand of God. And now I'm ready to fight a holy war against the other side. Yeah, I think that is what this fucking format is, the next level of it, right? Like, just lean into it.
Be my senpai once more, like, please. You were once my master. I played behind you. I could learn from you again. I also bring knowledge from the LPL. We could collaborate.
You'd be like, no, that's okay. This is a one-way street, but okay.
No, I just think that the idea of the groups, which group wins, adds an extra layer of complexity and fun to the broadcast. We got very lucky this time with how it kept being back and forth like every day. And that's fun and exciting, and it ends up being like 13-12, like it was just barely, Baron who eked it out in the end. And like I think some people think that's meaningless and dumb, I'm one of them. I'm like, I think this is it's not for me. Like, I don't think it's that fun. Like, oh, they band together separately and play against the other teams and don't really interact with each other, but they band together. It's our group Baron. But there is some like tension, you know. I'm sure T1 and GenG were watching that Nongshim series against Hanwha, being like, nice, this is good for our seeding that they actually got the upset win. Like, they probably might have taken a break from scrims or streaming or solo queue or whatever to take a look at that
Yeah.
that match, because it's important, right? But I think like some people think this idea is fun and cool. It seems like a lot of Korean fans really like it. Some people like myself are like, well, I'd rather have the hardcore tournament at the beginning of the year. But ultimately, this is a lot of testing, and it is a lot of stuff crammed into a short period. So there's not going to be a format that's going to make everybody happy. And for me, even though this is not the format I like and I don't like it and I think it is silly, I've just come to terms with it. That's the rules. That's the way it goes. That's how this tournament is. And so I commentated accordingly. And I'm personally pretty over like the format issues. Like, I'm ready to just be like, all right, well, how you had your chances. Yeah, you got the short end of the stick here, frankly, at 2 and 3 versus 0-5 for Bro. You got the short end of the stick, but that's how it is. If you're a defending champion, you got that spot. You gotta do what you can with it.
And if you're the number 1 seed, generally you are playing for the teams in your group. This was such a weird situation where they were playing for themselves, right? They were like, it's usually like Bro or DRX being like, yeah, like, please win for us, Hanwha. Like, you know, we want to, you know, get to play extra matches too. We don't want to have to wait. But in this case, they were playing for their own tournament lives. And KT, there was like 3 teams watching. It was Bro, KT, and Hanwha fans were all like, whatever. If you're DRX, you're like, this is awesome. We're the last pick team, and we're going to be 3rd seed in our group. That's nuts. It's KT, world finalists. What a fun spectacle. It's a spectacle. That's what it is. All right. If you have thoughts on the format, again, if there are other non-hardcore, I only want competitive all the time throughout the year, even fucking January, join me and say it with your chest that this format was fun in the comments below. Please. All right. Now we've got a little bit more format to go into with where the finals will be happening and how fans of the LCK have been reacting. But before we do, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Factor Meals. Now, Factor lets you eat better with 2 minutes, real food, and done. Despite the fact that you have 0 time or 0 energy to make it happen. Factor doesn't ask you to follow meal prep or follow recipes. It just removes the entire problem because you're not failing at healthy eating. You're failing at having 3 extra hours every night to help you healthy eat. And Factor is already made by chefs, designed by dietitians, and delivered to your door. You can heat it in 2 minutes and eat. It's inside. They've got lean proteins, colorful vegetables, and whole food ingredients and healthy fats. The stuff that you'd make if you had the time, with no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. There's 100 rotating meals every week. High protein, calorie smart, Mediterranean, GLP-1 support menus, as well as ready to eat salads. And there's also the new Muscle Pro collection, right? Gun show right there for all the strength and recovery needs during your health journey. You pick what fits your goals. Healthier eating, calorie management, more protein, whatever you're trying to do, Factor has you covered. And it's always fresh, never frozen, and ready in 2 minutes with no prep, no cleanup, and no mental load. Not motivation to eat better, elimination of the reason why you don't. Again, Factor has helped a ton of us here in Last Free Nation, myself as well, when I had the opportunity to use it. So make sure to head on over to factormeals.com and use the code factormeals.com/LCK50 off and use the code LCK50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code LCK50 off at factormeals.com/LCK50 off. Offer is only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. Thanks to our friends over at Factor. All right, let's dive into the next topic here, which is where finals is happening. It was announced, Wolf. We knew not much long before the announcement, but it is now announced. LCK Finals of LCK Cup will be held not in Lol Park, not in LCK Arena, not in Korea, Wolf. It's going overseas to Hong Kong. And you and I have thoughts about it, but also we've had a lot of Korean fans' thoughts about that kind of whirling around. A lot of the time, for those of you that don't know, if you follow some of these like hardcore takes on LCK and they have like a T1 profile picture in their thing or like a Hanwha picture or a GenG picture as their profile picture, they're usually not Korean. Usually on Twitter, it's other Asian, but not Korean. And so I didn't see a lot of sadness on Twitter. I actually saw a lot of excitedness and hopefulness. Hopefulness from fans in other parts of Asia that are thinking, wow, maybe now I'll have the opportunity to watch the players in person, which is how I feel about it. I like this move. It does feel a little different that it is an LCK finals, not in Korea, LCK event finals, not in Korea. But I think it's a reminder of the global game that League of Legends is and that the product of the LCK is, whether it ends up being T1, GenG, obviously not Hanwha anymore, D+, you've got marquee names of players that have fans all around the world that want to watch. And it's so cool that we're going to have the opportunity to bring it to them, unfortunately, at the cost of Korean fans.
Well, this is the age-old question, right? I've been saying this for years, many times on this show.
Yep.
Well, we are getting to be so big, and despite not yet being sustainable, which is problematic, but we are getting to be so big, it's only a matter of time before we do more international travel for our domestic league. And this is really the first time that's happened, but also that we would probably see eventually playoffs go to road shows, and we'll see more city-based stuff happening because cities pay, because it moves a ton of people. Like for a city, when like you basically win no matter what if you hold MSI and Daejeon, because a ton of people go there and they have no choice but to spend money in your city. Like that's where they are. So like you just automatically win basically. And if you can build trust in the city and build some sort of feeling of like, oh, I really enjoyed going to Daejeon, I'd like to go back to Daejeon sometime. Like that's even beyond that. But you like automatically win by bodies moving to a place and spending money there. And in the case of Hong Kong, similar story, because you have this partnership that comes through, albeit seems somewhat last minute, giving the LCK a huge relief here in terms of the funding they'll get from this, as well as like they outsource the production to a different production company. So LCK doesn't have to bring like all of their equipment and everything over to produce the show itself. And you now get to unlock like a new audience of live fans who've never been able to watch an LCK match. This isn't LCK, it's LCK Cup, but like, you know what I mean? LCK teams are playing in this. And so Chinese fans and Hong Kong fans can watch this live in person for the first time. It's much easier for most Chinese fans to go to Hong Kong than it is to travel to Korea. It's especially if you can go by train, depending on where you live in China. And then obviously Hong Kong fans, it's like right there, right? Like it's they're going to be able to see this in person for the first time. A lot of them haven't been able to have the opportunity to travel to Korea, right? It's not the most expensive thing to travel between Hong Kong and Korea. I've actually been to Hong Kong so many times, especially early on in my career. It was normally where I, in fact, went to get my Chinese visas. I would go to Hong Kong to get my visa and then fly directly to China a lot of the time, because there was a really great agency there that I went through. And also I just really like Hong Kong because it's really fun. So I kind of would always turn into a little mini vacation. So I'm really excited about this. The news came as a bit of a shock to me because we found out about it about a week before or so. I don't remember exactly, before it was announced. And I was just insanely hyped immediately. Now, I did think, of course, of what will the reaction be? Will people like this? I as soon as it was announced in public, I tweeted, and you copied me and tweeted the same thing.
I copied you unashamedly. If you liked mine, go like Wolves. I just copied Wolves, and I got like the same traction.
But like the thing is, the possibilities this unlocks for, say, Hanoi wants to sponsor a LCK tournament, and we go to Hanoi in Vietnam, or like for example in Manila in the Philippines. It is absolutely a possibility that something like this could happen to drive tourism to another location, because not only are you going to have local fans, but you might have Koreans traveling there as well. At the exact same time, Korean boy band 17 is also I think they're a boy band anyways. I don't know much
They
about
are.
them.
They are. They are. They are.
I actually really don't know anything about them that much, to be honest with you guys. So sorry about that. But I've heard so much about how they're having an event at the same venue, based on the other side, the larger venue, at the same time. So Hong Kong is obviously spending a lot of energy and resources to try to grow Korean tourism, I think. And as a result, like, this is a great partnership as well with one of the biggest industries in Korea that's popular globally in K-pop, and now esports as well, right? It's that
Yeah.
big global power that Korea has, that they have these things that they're really good at that no one else in the world is really able to match. Like, to a certain extent, you have idol groups in other countries, right? And like, there are non-Korean esports that do well internationally, but Korea has its own niche thing, especially in League of Legends, where it's the most dominant region, has the best production, etc. So I understand why Hong Kong wants this. I understand why LCK wants this. But I also understand why Korean fans feel like this has been taken away from them. Because this is, Arnold went on Four Horsemen and talked about this very recently as well, about how, it feels bad that basically in order to try to grow globally, we have to hit the domestic market, and how that doesn't feel, to a certain extent, fair to the Korean fans. And maybe there was a different way to do this. And I think maybe if there was more planning, more time, it could have worked out. But his argument was basically that they took, instead of like growing the pie, they took parts of the pie and they gave it to the global fans instead of giving it to Korean fans. I want to challenge the idea. A lot of people think that Korea is capped out. Like, we don't have more growth here because we have all the Korean fans and we have the most we can get, but the Korean market's too small and the global market is bigger. I want to push back on that, because I think the Korean market will almost always be bigger than the global market for a domestic league like this, because it's in the country. The primary broadcast language is Korean. And I think that even though esports is massive in Korea, it's nowhere near other similar industries like KBO, for
Baseball.
example, or
Yep.
or K-pop, right? That's even
Yep.
bigger here as well. And so I think there's still a ton of room to grow in Korea as well. I don't think we're capped out by any means, so we need to go globally. But because there is such a large global audience, it's Hong Kong who's like trying to tap into this. It's not that LCK is trying to
Move it
send
out.
us to Hong Kong just for funsies. Like, well, that'd be cool. I'd love to take a vacation to Hong Kong. Like, Hong Kong was like, please have this here. We want to incentivize that for you. And they made an offer that was too good to refuse, right? And so LCK is like, well, this is really cool. Let's take this opportunity to grow globally. It's not the LCK, it's the LCK Cup. And what was the alternative is what we had last year, where it's a 450 seat Lall Park finals. So people are complaining that they couldn't get tickets, sold out really fast. Probably wouldn't have gotten tickets statistically to the Lall Park finals either, anyways, right? It's incredibly difficult to get those tickets. So, um, you're probably not going to be able to watch in person either way. Now, if you didn't get tickets to the Lall Park finals, you could hang out in the lobby outside, and there's like still all that fan interaction. I 100% get that. Happens on every big match day, including the
Yep.
Hanwha GenG match that we just had yesterday. Like, that's an experience that'll be missed for sure. Like, they won't be able to have that. Um, but I do think that what is happening here is a cool growing step and a potential learning moment for the LCK in how we can try to do more events like this. Because what's to say that it has to be LCK Cup Finals? Why can't it just be some banger show match? Like, imagine, the grudge match between Hanwha and T1 that we had last year that you just referenced earlier, that best of five, where it
Yep.
was like the first time they. Why don't they just, like, what if they just had some grudge match like that right after Stove League and sent it to, I don't know, Taipei, and they're like, we're doing this one best of five, T1 GenG. It's like not even for any standing. It's not even part of a domestic league. We're just going to do this show match in Taipei because we figured out we proved that it's doable. We figured out that we can actually get a live audience elsewhere. Like, this opens all these doors in my mind. So why not try it? Why not test it? Hong Kong's incentivizing it for the LCK. Hong Kong gets tons of incentives for doing this for their end. It's a mutually beneficial agreement, and it is not going to take away your ability to watch the LCK forever. I do understand why people are upset, And the late notice of this and how ticket sales meant that Koreans who often do travel overseas to watch Koreans play, for example, I can't tell you how many Koreans I've seen who traveled to watch Overwatch League matches, for example, even like Overwatch League road shows before COVID ended all of that, or how many times I've seen Korean fans travel for Heroes of the Storm events, even back in the
Yeah.
day, to watch their favorite players like Rich play in Europe. They would
Yeah.
actually travel, right? Like I can understand why Korean fans are upset. They were kind of hit hard by this ticket process that required, Hong Kong residency basically in order to get the tickets early, and then they sold out incredibly fast. They just couldn't get them by legitimate means. I feel for those, and I think that looking back at this, like when we do this next time, if we do this next time, there'll probably be a little bit more transparency. It'll probably be a lot more planning in advance, or at least announcing much earlier, so that there's a lot of ways so that Korean fans can travel internationally and still watch their domestic players play overseas, because they should have that right. And because of the way this worked out, unfortunately, they for the most part didn't get to. Um, and that's a failing of what happened in my opinion. And I think, even though I do think this is good for the LCK, I think this should have been done in a different way.
The way I think about it, because I agree with your full coverage there of multiple different sides of it. But the way I think about it is it's the ease of growth, right? It is hard for us to grow here to find another venue that's capable of holding it at the same quality, which is what, and in LCK's hands, which is what Arnold brought up. Like, it's a quality level that is required not only of LCK, but also of LoL Esports. That's why globally we've never, I think never, have played matches at the same time in the same league. They just don't do that, right? In Dota for TI, they do that, right? They, in their group stages, you can watch stream A or
Oh yeah,
stream
you
B.
mean like stream A, stream B.
But in LoL Esports, every match is its own spectacle, and so therefore they've never done that at the cost of A and B, or better, lesser, right? Whatever that is, even if like the better teams or the more exciting teams were in B, they've never done that. So it's difficult to do that here in Korea. But I liken it to like someone who goes to the gym. All right, I'm a gym bro, go to the gym all the time. Chest day. What's today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, chest day. Because we've now hit like, all right, like 90%, 95% growth, even though we haven't. You just touched on it, right? There's still a lot more to grow here for baseball. Like, baseball's so massive here in Korea. But we've hit a pretty big group already. And we have like, oh, what is this thing? A leg machine to grow somewhere else, another part of my body that wants to grow, that feels the weight of this upper body growing. We can go to Hong Kong, and they're gonna subsidize, if not pay, for the broadcast, and they're gonna handle everything, and we're gonna grow in an area where we know wants to grow. Hong Kong, Asia, an Asian market that's going to fill up, and we don't have to do anything. That sounds like pretty much where you want to go and do this time. Everything that you said about the experience now for Korean fans, and the pain points to get their own tickets and what is missing, and that to me is like, okay, we can optimize that later. But the first time you go do legs, you're not doing it perfectly. And you're not going to not do it because you didn't do it perfectly. You're going to go and you're going to do it, and you're going to mess up, and, hopefully you don't get injured. Hopefully the broadcast doesn't get cut. But it's going to be overall good, in my opinion. The growth and the gains are going to be there because the product, the workout itself, aka the matches that we're going to play and the players that are coming, are good. We know it's good. We know they're going to put on a good game. We know they're going to make a match worthy of watching. And the world is going to watch as well, because they always do, because it's the LCK and it's the best teams and it's a cup final. So I just feel like this is such an easy win, an easy area of growth that the LCK doesn't have to do much to, and will optimize better for next time because of how late it kind of came through.
Yeah, I think like there is obviously a lot of frustration with how difficult it is to watch live matches in Korea. and then like something is happening in Hong Kong with this massive stadium, and yet I still can't do it. Like I can't go domestically, I can't go internationally. And for me, like I tweeted at Arnold when he was tweeting about this topic. I think it was yesterday morning. I posted, I think it's time for more playoff road shows and a medium-sized venue. Like so far we've kind of had the 5,000 to 10,000 seater arenas for our big road shows, and we haven't
Yeah.
really had like a 1,000, 2,000, so like double or quadruple ballpark size venues. Like for example, I came from the Did Games. Okay, so when we had our big finals, they were often like in a basketball stadium, okay, or like in a very large theater, for example, that would host like 800 people. Sometimes it would be like the best for something like StarCraft 2, and sometimes it wouldn't fill, but the camera shots were good, move the people in the right spot, whatever. And they made good deals and good partnerships with these smaller venues that were bigger than the GSL studio, right? Were bigger than what Lall Park is right now, but not by much. And sometimes actually about the size of Lall Park in terms of capacity. I think the scale is there to where, like, as long as you set it up to where it's later in playoffs, so you're probably not going to have DRX Bro. And even then, like, it sometimes you just have to be okay with the format working out that way to where you're not going to fill your venue. That's why I'm saying like a smaller 1,000 to 2,000 person venue rather than a 5,000 person venue. Like, we don't have to get what was the T1 homestand venue? Not Paradise, but
Inspire.
Inspire. Thank you. We don't have to have an Inspire-sized arena for a roadshow, but just having more seats so that more fans can go to these playoff games is okay. But everyone's afraid of like, oh, it's expensive, going to move a lot of cameras, all the quality is going to go down. Like we saw the homestand, or the
That's me.
homestand stuff. Like the quality went down a little bit, right? But I think eventually, if you build the right partnerships with different production companies that are smaller, get familiar with these smaller venues, you can build a lasting partnership where it's like, okay, every playoffs we kind of use these few venues. Maybe they're in Seoul, maybe one of them's not in Seoul, maybe the last one is not in Seoul, so there's time to get back and get ready for the finals, or wherever we're going to have the finals. Maybe if the finals are overseas again, that kind of thing. I think that we need to take risks and invest in this type of thing so that domestic fans, and I'm talking again domestic road shows for playoffs. I'm not talking about like we also need to have the losers bracket final needs to be in Vietnam and then the finals needs to be in China. And I'm not saying that. I mean obviously domestically road shows here. I want to see that because I think we're ready for it. I think we've matured to that point to where we can fill these arenas. And if we can't, then like I said, there's still a ton of growth to be had here in Korea. I think there's still so much more and we need to focus on that.
I think if the arena is too small, the cost of moving the quality of the broadcast, or even like slightly less of the quality of the broadcast, isn't worth it, right? Like I think the number lizards have crunched that out and convinced the creatives that want to do it. That I mean I agree. Let's go anywhere in Korea that has an arena or a basketball team. Basketball's not that big in Korea, but they do have facilities. I've been to a couple of games, and the cost of moving it for the size of that crowd isn't worth it. It wasn't worth the pain point, isn't worth potential, not like, oh, the cameras look shitty or the colors are hazy. It's like the broadcast cuts out, right? Something like that. Like, why
Sure,
risk it for the
sure.
same
Well,
amount when it can't be, if it's like whatever that number is. If it has to be a 10,000 seat or a 5,000 seater, like that's the minimum that they're willing to
but
do it at,
what
then
if
yeah,
you could?
sure.
Okay, so like in my case, when I'm talking about basketball arenas, so I'm talking about like college or like high school basketball arenas. Like I'm not talking about like a real Korean basketball league. Um, sized arena. But imagine if you did go to a Korean basketball arena, like a pro basketball arena, or went to like a college basketball arena where they actually have in place broadcasts going on at that venue. You partner with the team that actually broadcasts basketball. You teach them how to do League of Legends stuff. You bring some of your team over. You keep the same observers. You set up the camera crew, and you go, hey, let's work together here. There's some money will change hands, right? Like it's not going to be like for free. They're going to do it for you. But then you can write on your basketball arena like LCK playoffs played here or something. Like I think this is the kind of partnership I'm talking about building where you can work with other production companies that have the infrastructure in place and teach them how to do it. It's going to take a long time. And yes, like there will be hiccups. And I predict, by the way, and I hate to say this about my own finals that we're hyping up in Hong Kong, I predict there will probably be some technical issues with this production company that isn't the normal LCK company. How can there not be, right? Like, we've never worked with them before. Like, there will be some issues, there will be some language barriers, there will be some problems, right? Like, that will
Yeah.
happen. It is going to happen, in my opinion. Like, I think it's outlandish to expect that there will not be some problems. And I hope there aren't major problems. I don't think it's going to affect the show. I don't think it's going to affect competitive integrity. I'm just saying there will probably be some bumps on the road, right? But we're doing it
Yeah.
anyways because we're trying to potentially build a partnership here. And that's what I think I want to see, is not just like, okay, we got to spend all this money to go to a smaller venue, to go to a slightly larger venue, but like that's only for 500 more people. So what's the point? I totally understand that argument. Like, okay, so we have a small domestic audience because Lol Park is that size. Like, that's not something you can change. But if you only double the size and spend thousands of dollars to double that size, when you could try to make the show better and bring 500 more viewers onto the online stream, isn't that more valuable? 100% I agree with that. But I think what the fans want is more ability to see these players, straight up, like, in person. This is
Yeah.
a kind of a unique thing for Korean esports of all time. Korean esports has always been offline. It has always been an in-person thing. It has always been more idol culture based, right, than any other esports region,
Yeah.
with the exception of like the LCS, which frankly the early days of the LCS was idol based as well. They just don't like to call it
Yeah.
that, but like it was. Um,
But then the
and
players got bigger than the teams and the orgs, and these owners were getting butthurt that the players were bigger than the org, and then they could just go make more money streaming, so they had to pay them more. Like, yeah, it was a whole thing.
So like I just think that there's definitely a way we can work better on how we set up these international events for Korean fans. I also think trying to do more larger venues for Korean fans who don't get the opportunity to see, like, to see T1 play is so hard. To see them in
Yeah.
person, to watch them play a live game is so hard. That's why those home ground matches are so cool, because the venue is so much larger that you're like, oh my god, I got a ticket for this. Like, I can
Yeah.
actually do it now. I will go all the way to Incheon to do this because it's so important to me. It's such a special moment. My girlfriend and I went. One of the most memorable days of my life is probably what some of those fans are saying.
Yeah.
You could see them in the crowd, the couples with the T1 shirts on and stuff. That's special. That's cool. I want more of that. I think Korean fans deserve more of that. And Hong Kong, I think, doesn't
I was
have to take away from that.
Oh, well, I was about to say all those things you just said. The Hong Kong fans will say the same exact thing. I never thought in my lifetime, without taking a trip to go to LCK and then hoping in 400 seat Lol Park, I get a ticket through Interpark, which you need a Korean ID. I hope I get to see them. Now they get to say that as well if T1 make the finals. But
Looking likely at this
to
point.
put a to put a bow on it.
People did say, by the way, people were saying, and I was like, when I saw how big the venue was, I was like, I don't know if they'll fill. I'm not sure how big this is in Hong Kong necessarily. I was like, what'll happen if T1 doesn't go? I even had my kind of, I was a little skeptical. I was like, that's a really big venue. Sold out like instantly. Nobody even knows who's in the finals. Like, it's like, all right, well, all right, I guess it's fine. I guess it was a great idea.
Yeah. To put a bow on it, this is coming no matter what. Many traditional sports leagues are playing games in different areas, right? The NFL, obviously, for American viewers, have been playing their games in London, over in Tottenham. They also played one in Mexico City. I think they played in Berlin as well. So they expanded there. NBA has NBA Global in their footprint around the world: NBA Europe, NBA Africa, NBA China.
MLB also.
Soccer leagues, MLB obviously playing in Korea and in Japan. And then, of course, the soccer leagues doing it most traditionally recently. And this is why I bring up the soccer leagues, is because there was, although they've played games in America and played, outside of their domestic league, there was pushback in one of the biggest games. It was Barcelona and Villarreal, that it got so much pushback that La Liga canceled it. They were like, you know what? We're actually not going to do this because our fans have given so much backlash and they're complaining and blah, blah, blah. And so there's a world where it does get rolled back, but the natural lean is to reach that global market with a marquee game that is overseas, or a marquee day that is overseas. So going to be something that we watch closely. And now that LCK is part of that movement, we'll let you know in a month how it goes. Exactly a month, March 2nd. Yeah. Okay.
It's
Well,
only the
we've
fourth
got,
time, by the way, this has ever happened. Just like put it in perspective for Korea, like There's a bunch of StarCraft stuff that's happened. I mean, 3 other events, right? It's the first time ever LCK has gone overseas, like period, and no other game has really done this. So it is unknown territory, and like I'm really excited to see how it goes. That's my final thoughts.
Especially with a product this big. Like if it ends up being Faker and T1, like top 3, which seems highly, highly, highly likely, craziness. Because remember, over at what was it? Which one had T1? Was it Rhodes MS? No. Gyeongju, 2024 summer, right? It was T1, Hanwha, and GenG. Like, still having T1 there was crazy. All right. Before we touch on some of the rest of the teams that we didn't touch on, because this one was Hanwha Life dominated, and do our predictions for plans, it's time to remind you about our friends over at Raycon. This message is sponsored by Raycon. With the Super Bowl and the Winter Olympics this month, there's no better way to get inspired, push harder, and upgrade your workout routine. Whether you're training constantly, the right gear makes all the difference. I've been using Raycon's essential open earbuds, and they've completely changed how I work out. They don't block out everything around you, so you can stay aware while you're running, lifting, or walking outside without sacrificing clear, motivating sound. Your music or podcasts like ours stay crisp, and you can stay focused and safe. And right now is the perfect time to grab them because they are 15% off. Now, regular earbuds block everything out. You can't hear someone calling your name, a car honking, or anything, but these Raycons sit right outside your ear canal so you can get a really clear sound, and you can actually hear what's happening around you too. The awareness is perfect for tackling your fitness resolutions safely. They're really light, and the ear hook part rotates so they actually stay in. I've worn them at the gym, on walks, and doing stuff around the house so they don't fall out and they don't get uncomfortable. Just earlier today, I was using them on a FaceTime with my buddy, and we caught up thanks to my Raycons. Now, Raycon has over 3 million customers, and the sound quality is just as good as the way more expensive brands. They're half the price, and they're not paying for celebrity endorsements and making all that retail markup stuff, which is why a lot of those are more expensive. So if you don't like them, they've got a 30-day guarantee, but I'm telling you, you won't need to use that. Here's a couple features that make them the everyday go-to, like the open ear design, where you can hear your music and the world around you both at the same time. The multi-angular hook, which we talked about earlier, which gets it nice and neat in your ear. It's lightweight. It is and also a multi-point connection where you can switch between your phone and laptop without repairing them, and seamlessly without hassle. And a 36-hour of battery life, 8 hours of playtime and 36 hours of battery with the charging case. And it doesn't take long to charge them when you put them back on in. If you're in a snafu, the charging case has you covered. So again, the Raycons, go get them now. The essential open earbuds are here to help you go for gold. Go to buyraycon.com/LCKopen to get 15% off. That's buyraycon.com/LCKopen to get 15% off. Thanks to our friends over at Raycon. All right, Wolf, let's talk a little bit about the cream of the crop. Since we've been speaking a lot about 10th place LCK, let's talk about first and second place LCK just real quick, because T1 and GenG on Saturday and Sunday, the weekend matches, just looked so much better than D+ in Hanwha. Hanwha was close. I felt like Hanwha had punching chances, especially early on, but I just feel like both these teams are humming so well, and it feels like on GenG's side, anyone can carry, and on T1 side, Faker is conducting every single player here so well.
It's crazy to see, like, you know, the comeback in that T1 KT series, right? The GenG comebacks we saw consistently across the Hanwha series. I mean, they weren't massive comebacks because they were small leads, but like they were behind, and they were able to just go, nah, we're better than you. They played the map really well. These teams are what every team aspires to be. Very little coordination required in terms of verbally speaking. Everyone does their jobs perfectly. Their laning is solid. Even at tough matchups like what Chovy had in that Yone game, where he was struggling a little bit early, and Kanavi kind of trolled him a little bit. Or sorry, not Kanavi, Canyon. Um, and then he tried to commit and then like fell further behind. Still ends up making a huge impact in the game, right? Uh, these are teams that see the game practically in ones and zeros, like, in terms of knowing exactly what you need to do in a team fight, knowing exactly what you need to do on the map, where vision needs to be put down, whether you can do a Baron or not in a certain period of time, like when 3 people are collapsing on Chovy. Like before the first skill shot lands, they're like walking to the Baron. They're like, okay, we do this now. There's no hesitation. There's no second thought. They rush down that Baron. They end up getting the uh insanity of like these cross map calls bottled up into like just like it's the easiest thing in the world. Like they will always pre-communicate, it seems, right? Or at least have it innately in them. Sometimes you see them on comm, sometimes you don't when you see the content back. Call out like, we'll take Baron if they collapse on Chovy, Either that's just known or they're already in position for it. Like they're already walking towards it. They already know. And it's that type of decision making that other teams just can't match right now. And Hanwha Life could, when they had Peanut, at times match that decision making, especially through their early mid. Like their early mid was insane, and sometimes they got big enough leads to where it was like, okay, we're a little bit disjointed. Delay had fumbled, engaged, but it's okay because Viper will carry. And that was kind of how it went for Hanwha a lot of last year. I just don't see that happening right now, especially with how important the bottom lane is. Like Delight's such a critical piece of this roster. Whereas if you look at Duro, he looks like a veteran now. Like he actually arguably is because of how much he's played more than other teams because of his international success as well. And then like Pays coming in, he looks like old Pays. I don't think would have slotted into this roster that well for T1. It would have been probably like a downgrade from Guma because he was before like the safe guy, but not as good as Guma in a lot of ways. Like some people will go, well, what happened in the GenG T1 finals where he popped off and got MVP? Yes, that was a different scenario, and Doran should have gotten MVP, but it's a topic that we've talked about many times. But like, I wasn't sure what we were going to get from Pays, right? But he actually is an upgrade for this roster, in my opinion, right now, with how he's playing and how they're able to play through him. And the bottom 2v2s with Ruler and Pays playing as they are just seems unbeatable. And, I know Kellen's looking much better these days, but like, is he the third best? Like, is obviously we know Diablo's probably the third best laning AD carry right now, but like, is Kellen Diablo gonna come toe to toe with these teams? Probably not, but they could probably beat almost anyone else in the LCK right now with
I don't know, man.
with how Guma Delight are playing, and like I'm just kind of like, will GenG and T1 lose to anyone but each other? Like before, we were like, okay, these teams are really dominant. It's a 2-team region. They're going to see each other in the finals. We did it so many times, but now I'm thinking, does anyone ever scratch them? Like, does anyone ever get close to touching them? Watching that D plus series,
it was brutal.
You would think like, oh, maybe D plus. I mean, they've been pretty dominant. Like maybe they'll make it. No, not interesting at all. To be honest, there was like that one Anivia game, slightly interesting for a second, and then nope, never mind.
Yeah, I mean that was also partially Cheesy Wheezy having a sophomore slump. That's my nickname for Shiwu. And then Lucid not being able to translate.
And what's sophomore slump? What's that a euphemism for?
Okay, all right. Come on, Cheesy Wheezy. I say it all the time in the space. I sharing the nicknames with the fans. Wolf. All right.
Okay. Nice.
But yeah, like it was pretty brutal. Career just, we all danced around saying career ender. Like, but that's what we were all thinking when he was just getting. It wasn't even just the Nami game, man. Like the games before that, the Nami game was just icing on the cake.
Well, I mean, I think Career is obviously not a bad player, but T1 and GenG make every team look like clowns. I'm serious. Like, they literally make every team look like clowns. It's just, they're so much better than you. They're so much more coordinated than you. They team fight so much better than you that, like, if you're a support player, oftentimes you're the one who looks like the clown the most because you're just trying to figure out how to, like, you can't see anything. They don't let you have any vision. They don't let you have any prio. You got to, like, check, but you also got to engage. And they just turn you into a clown. Like it's like a polymorph. They're just like, you're a clown. You're an idiot. What the hell are you thinking? Why you think you can stand there?
Usually last year you could, if you had a strong mid, you would have an opportunity. You could have a chance maybe. And I think that's why BDD played well against T1 because he was catching Faker a little bit. But even when you go back to the game, the throw / not throw if you're Wolf, there was the Akali play, and it was being replayed as this week's mic check, where BDD Zonius, and at first, like, old memory was like, oh, he fat fingered it. But what Faker did was he Zonius and BDD reactive Zonius to his Zonius, thinking it was a spell or something, like a shove or something. And then Faker's able to get away and BDD dies. Like, Faker is playing so well. There are just, I want to see GenG versus T1 to see what holes they dig for each other, right? You're like, will they be scratched by anyone? No, they won't. So what will they do when the unstoppable force meets the immovable object? Like, that's what I want to see. And unfortunately, we got to wait
twice.
another week.
Well,
hopefully we get to see it twice. Yeah.
I
But then, like, the second time we see it, there's like going to be all these excuses. Yeah, we're away from home. Oh, the hotel we were at was blah. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. When it happens,
well, I mean,
I don't want to hear it.
Make those excuses. The players won't. I guarantee the players will never say anything like that.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that shit. I just want all of us to enjoy, like, really, if you haven't watched a GenG or T1 game yet, just go watch it and enjoy peak ass League of Legends. It's so good. I for Power Spike, I have to watch like other regions. So I was watching LCS earlier, and like, it's fun seeing like Griffin play well. I'm wearing my FlyQuest jersey because he's playing well, but like, it's not great League of Legends. Call me. Nongshim Call Me is who he's playing against. Old Nongshim Call Me is who he's playing against. And it's just not great. Someone's winning, and they are making plays, but just the masterpieces that GenG or T1 are putting together, like, it's like better tasting food. You can just eat at the 5-star restaurant and enjoy it and understand this is why it's 5-star. And then if for some reason you're like, that's not for me, you can go back to, whatever region it is.
I think every player in the world, every pro player in the world watches these teams and wishes they could be those teams, wishes their team could have that much coordination, wishes they could have that same individual impact, and also simultaneously knows they never will. They will never be those teams. They will never catch them, right? Like, I think everybody, it's like, it's hard to even quantify or explain, right? How strong these teams are and how above everybody else are. Because, like, we know the LCK is the best region, right? You like add that scale, and then you go, but the LCK is the best region, but 80% of this region can't touch those teams. Like, they can't even come close, right? And then you're like, well, man, I feel really insignificant, right?
And then just to add on top of that, again, going globally, you have Kana running it over at KC. You've got Rahel, who couldn't cut it, running it for Sentinels over there. Griffin, who was not T1 Esports Academy. He was T1 Challengers. He was the third team jungler, who is, again, had an amazing week. He's had two of the best weeks in the world, and definitely two of the best weeks in LCS. And he couldn't even make the roster. Like, that is the levels of the game that we're talking about right now. Specifically right now, like, there are times where, like, T1 and GenG, okay, they're making mistakes, they look weak, or, we have a strong 3, like, but right now, the level is just, like, please go watch it. Even my, 80 carry brain can enjoy it. Please go enjoy it. I will
glaze them, too. I will glaze them. I will do it. I don't care what you think. I don't care if you do it. I hate when Wolf says these two teams, they're the best teams, bar none, right now.
Bar none.
I cannot believe Wolf would praise the insane macro. And every time you think, like, GenG's hit their ceiling, you watch again, you're like, no, this meta changed. They, like, figured it out a different way. Like, they don't always play the ruler, but they can play the ruler. Keen's popping off, getting pentakills. His first pentakill, that is to say, of his career, gets a pentakill on Aurora. With the flexible draft that they put together, Ryu is shining, by the way, on this team. Like, you can actually feel it already. Yeah. And it's still early days. Like, he's still figuring out how to use this roster right now. He has his new toy, and, like, he will master it. I want to see the rest of the teams rise to the occasion. But maybe in
Rise.
some ways, the LCK is just going to be GenG T1 again. And since it's been a little while since we've had that, I guess I'll be okay with it. And then the rest of the LCK can be just kind of a fun clown fiesta. You know, maybe the Rise group is just 8 teams this season. That'll be fun. 3 of
I
the
was gonna
teams will be
say.
a punching bag of GenG and T1, just like
Yeah.
all of Group Elder was.
Yeah.
And you know, it'll just be a fun time. It'll be a fun time, like finding out which team is third place. I'm excited to find out the LCK for me now. Who's going to be third place? Who's going to be first between the two, GenG and T1? Most people putting GenG ahead right now, but hard to say. And then who's going to be third place? And then if you're at the bottom, I'm just not that interested in you right now. You got to start climbing baby steps, like crawling. GenG is actually like doing triple backflip, back handsprings, like over like from like one building to another, like flying through the air, and you know, like catching moving objects with a blindfold on, and like, you know, the supers are like, I just took my first step. I can tie my shoes. That's what it feels like to me right now, Digon.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on those middle pack teams. We won't touch on them too much, just because there's that guy in the comment. Why don't we talk about my Noodle Boys? 1-0. They won their series. They did it the hard way. They stopped the reverse sweep by KT, but they looked so good in those early wins. Yeah. Shout outs to Nongshim. Shout outs to Nongshim. That's it. I don't think, and BNK. Like, I love Diablo, I love Kellen, but holy shit, everyone else is like, you know, DRX barely won that series. KT roster is embarrassing. Like,
DRX looked good
supers.
with Coach Comms. That's gone. So
Yeah, that's right. What's Joker gonna do?
Fall apart.
Wolf has alluded to it a couple times, but just to clarify, Coach Comms was only for the group stage, so they will not have it for the play-ins and playoffs unless there's another change, like Fearless kind of changed in the middle of everything.
I think that there's a world where like DRX do lose to Bro. I think it's a best of 3. Anything could happen there. I'm not going to predict Bro to win right now, but I do think that Bro could beat DRX because DRX looked pretty good at the beginning when the strings were attached, but looking a little bit worse for wear later on.
And to your point of caution, Bro did also use Coach's comms. From what I understand, Coach Song was using it for timers and not necessarily calling the next play. He wasn't min-maxing the way that Joker was. This is honestly the battle of Coach Comms, right? DRX and Bro, who will do the best without the Coach Comms, right? I think that's like, it's the Teddy and Song revenge match against Andal, which already has gone 1-0 to DRX.
Sure, that's a strong narrative there,
bro. I know. I'm so stretching. You know, there was like several years ago in the NFL, there was like a format thing where like a team that had a losing record made it into the playoffs. I think it was the Rams or the Seahawks. It was NFC West. They made it to the playoffs ahead of teams that had way better winning records because they won their division. That's the Bros right now. 0-5, still alive. That's all I got, man.
So I'm gonna pred DRX. I'm predding them. I feel pretty good about it, but I also acknowledge that, especially in the super volatile meta, Bro could take a game and or randomly win the series with an overperformance.
It's 2-1, Bro. They beat them already in the best of 5, 2-1. They're just with 2 more stupid games that they had to play. 2-1, Bro. Give it to me.
KT DNS definitely feeling.
I don't know.
It's a KT win.
Really? Like, I don't know. They look so ass,
aiming is safe enough. They don't have a support player. Ironically, they have 2 support players, but they don't have a support player. But I think the top side is fine, stable enough. I think Dudu is overhyped. Obviously, we've talked about this a lot. I think he looks good on Cassante. That's it. So far for Dudu. I am ready to say I think KT will probably 2-0 this, especially after the performance against Nongshim. I feel like I want to say on one hand, like there's a way where DNS could play through the bottom lane and Ghost could just get clowned on and then like they sub him out. It's like, why are we doing this again? It's like actually an elimination match. Why is Ghost and Palu just, it's mom said it's my turn to play support. Like what is happening? I don't know, but I can't imagine that'll be enough to hinder them so much that they can't win. So that's going to be my official parade. I think KT.
What I want is like if they're going to run these like double support rosters. And I understand in DNS's point. Like I still think Peter Duck Dom is better, but Life and Duck Dom have had history together. He's older, a lot more experience. I get it. But just come out and say it. Like the reason why it worked, in my opinion, for CFO, other than the fact that they were two good players with Driver
and Rest.
Oh shit, I can't remember. Who was it? Driver
Rest.
and who?
Rest.
Driver and Rest. Thank you. Was that Chowie made it a priority to give them both opportunities and manage it. Like, hey, coaches, like we need you not just to be a strategic mind, but to people manage. And if you don't do that, especially publicly, if you haven't done it, or if you haven't done it privately, but especially publicly, it's just so much pressure every time you fucking go out there. And then you have like a very resigned aiming and a resigned Duck Dom to
it's so obvious. Like it's so obvious to anyone who's been involved in esports for any even small period of time that this is just not healthy, not viable, not common strategy. Everyone forgets the 2021 T1 10-man roster. It was a disaster. That was so horrible. The Danny experiment was not a success. Like this just isn't smart. You spend time in tryouts during the offseason working this out. You don't figure it out during the tournament, especially not where it just feels like it's almost pre-planned that you're just like, you play one, the mom says I get to play game two, but if I play well in game two, I actually get to play the rest of the series, as some mom said, for Saturday. Like that's how it feels, right? Like I don't like if you are in this situation, Paulu, how do you even get your head on straight? You had the best game of your life. It's I mean, Ghost is playing a game two anyways because we already predetermined that. So, but you only get one chance to prove yourself on stage today. Oh, you were nervous and you messed it up. Oh, now everyone thinks you got subbed out because you sucked. And like the last time he was subbed out, even though we all agree that it was probably pre-planned, he had a terrible game one. That's just I don't think this is healthy or smart in any world. I cannot believe Score is condoning this, to be honest.
I think
I don't like it.
I feel like maybe it's just as simple as like what we said about the format earlier. This is time to experiment. And once we get to LCK, that's who it is. You take your loss on the salary contract, and there's probably like a clause in there where like not all the money is guaranteed, and then you move on.
But we're in play-ins. You already played 5 series.
No,
at this point,
you give them the whole cup.
At this point, you need to decide, in my opinion. If you're playing an elimination match, you need to have decided by now who's going to be starting. You cannot be playing an elimination match where you actually are just done for the tournament. Now you won't get any more data on anything because you lost because you went 1-1 with supports and went 0-2 to DNS and lost. Like that could happen. I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, I predicted KT, but I think it's a bad strategy. They can do whatever they want, and I think the support players probably are mature enough to handle it. But I think it's a bad strategy, and I don't think it's good for long term. I don't think it's good for short term either.
I got KT as well. I got KT 2-1, but I feel I got KT 2-1. D plus Nongshim. I guess D plus playing DRX in your mind, Nongshim playing KT in both our minds.
Yeah, I mean it's the higher seeds that win these. Like I predicted Nongshim against KT last time. I'm gonna do that again. I'll pick D plus over whoever goes, but probably DRX, right? So
yeah, I agree.
think that's probably where we draw the line for Preds for today because otherwise just too much speculation. Could be completely different matchup.
We did that in Pog State, and I feel like we got super lost in the sauce. Max tried to explain everything, man, and when he did that explanation, I was like, I don't know where we're at anymore. But
like when you guys were like explaining like the top four, I was like, I'm not even done with KTDNS yet. Like you guys have figured this out already. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think it's higher seeds win and slot in KT beating whoever's on the top side in that third slot. That's what I got. So D+, Nongshim, and KT moving on. Yeah, I think that's we're aligned in that. Bros get a honorable 7th place. Or DRX. Okay. There you go. That was this week's episode. It was packed, man. We packed it in with the Hanwha Life debacle and some format debacle. Anything else that you wanted to add?
Oh, not really. I'm just really looking forward to playoffs, and I'm mostly looking forward to GenG T1. It's been a while since I've said that, because usually I said I was really tired of it, but this time, ready for it to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, like and subscribe across Last Free Nation here on Let's Cover Korea. You don't want to miss any of the action as we move in towards plans, but make sure to let us know your feelings on this Hanwha Life roster. It was crazy. And if it's going to come back or not. All right. Until then, bye-bye.